Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. So it took me 3.5 years, 3.5 years for me to finish memorizing the Quran from the start. And I'm going to be going over everything that, inshallah, I wish I could know so that I could have, not memorize faster, but be more efficient and, avoid all the obstacles and stuff like that. Because actually one important thing with memorizing Quran is that you don't ever, it's very important first thing is that you don't want to think of, I want to finish within 2 years or 5 years, or put a time limit on the Quran, subhanAllah, right? You don't want to put a time limit. فَلَا تَعْجَلْ بِالْقُرْآنِ, right? Don't be hasty in terms of trying to read and, memorize the Quran, subhanAllah, right? So you don't want to be hasty with it. Even there's one of the Sahaba, I forgot who, I think it's Abdullah ibn Umar, radiyallahu anhuma. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me. But it took one of the Sahaba 10 years to memorize Surah Al-Baqarah, right? And that's why because they used to memorize a couple ayat a day, and memorizing what that meant for them is, reading them, pondering them, acting upon them, subhanAllah, right? They would take their time with the Quran. The Quran is a lifelong journey. And also another important thing to know is that the Quran, if you think Hafiz is the end goal, you're far from the truth, bro. Memorizing, finishing your memorization is literally the first step, subhanAllah. So that's the foundation, subhanAllah. From there, that's when your journey to the Quran really starts, subhanAllah. You will know, subhanAllah. But anyways, I'll just quickly tell you the timeline for me so you can just have a general understanding. I started in July of 2022. Yeah, I started July 2022. From not zero, I would say, because I learned how to read Quran as a kid, and I even memorized. I went to Islamic school for 3 years, 2nd to 4th grade, and in that time frame I memorized a juz and a half till Surah Al-Muddathir, till that big ayah. Actually, I remember it was at the end of the school year, and I remember I went to my teacher and I was asking her do I have to say this whole ayah? It was 5 lines, the biggest thing I've seen as a little kid, 10 years old. And she's she's like, you can break it down in the beginning, but eventually you're gonna have to say the whole thing to me. And I'm like, subhanAllah. But the school year ended, I never got to the big ayah in Surah Al-Muddathir. Anyways, so back then I memorized till Surah Al-Muddathir. There was no review or anything like that in my Islamic school, but I didn't memorize that. But after that, I went back to public school. I didn't continue with my memorization or review or anything like that, all the way until 2022, which is I was in 10th grade, or I finished 10th grade, so it was in the summer. And one of my friends, at this time I was reading a page of Quran every day, I made it a habit, but I didn't start memorizing it, so I was getting more fluent. So that's an important thing. Number one, you want to get your foundations up with memorizing, and I'll talk about this later on in the video, inshallah ta'ala, later on. But what I did was I was reading 1 page a day, when going on the bus to school, and subhanAllah, that did wonders for me. Obviously not just the ajr, but just the consistency and being more fluent in reading. SubhanAllah, I remember one of my friends who I taught alif ba ta, I went over Qaida Nuraniya, right? I literally taught him alif ba ta and taught him the whole entire Qaida Nuraniya book, right? After that, SubhanAllah, he just started reading 2 pages a day. And subhanAllah, I saw him in it was I was calling him a month, maybe 2 months later, maybe 3 months, I don't know, I think it was 2 months later. And subhanAllah, he was oh yeah, let me read. I was oh yeah, let me hear you read. And he was reading, subhanAllah, fluently. I was subhanAllah, bro, I just taught you alif ba ta a couple months ago, bro. How are you reading like this? SubhanAllah. And he just said I was just reading 2 pages a day, every night or every day or whatever. SubhanAllah, right? So the consistency, this is TLDR, one thing you need to know. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the most beloved of deeds for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those that are consistent, even if they're small. I promise you, I'm the whole this whole entire video, I'm gonna be just talking about literally this hadith and why it's so important. Also other stuff, but this is the main not even 80-20, bro, the 90-10 thing, bro. SubhanAllah, it's the main important thing. Anybody who finished their memorization or has what is going on here, bro? SubhanAllah, what are you doing, my brother? Oh, whoa, what is this traffic? SubhanAllah, this is crazy. Anyways, what was I saying? Anybody who is like has had experience with like memorizing Quran or whatever it may be, subhanAllah, they will tell you that consistency is the most important thing, right? There's comes times where there's months on end where you're not, weeks or months on end where you're not doing Quran, and then like you're falling off and etc. All that type of stuff, subhanAllah. Bro, this is bonkers, bro. The amount of traffic. It's 8:22. Is it supposed to be traffic? I don't know. I'm just gonna go this way. But yeah, subhanAllah, like the amount of like people who's subhanAllah like, oh, I got busy and then like I haven't memorized in like a month, 2 months, couple months. SubhanAllah, like that happens. But like if you were just doing a little bit at a time, you would have still been progressing. But you just dropped it off. SubhanAllah. That hadith is the most important thing. So okay, going back to my story, I started in July 2022. I remember one of my friends, one of my close friends, he was just he was encouraging me because he was encouraging me to start memorizing Quran. He was saying, yo, you should start memorizing and this, and I don't even remember what he said, but he was just like encouraging me a lot. And I was like, yeah, bro, I should. I need to. Like, I should. And so, I was on a trip. I was actually visiting, some of my cousins. And so, yeah, when I came, literally right when I came back home, I started memorizing. So I started from Nas, literally like from Nas. Obviously, I know such a Nas and Falaq and stuff like that. But I started re-memorizing from there, like making sure I like know it properly. So I'd read it without my eyes to see if I know it, and then like check it or whatever, all that type of stuff. So I started from there, and obviously like I had most of Juz Amma kind of solid, even though it's been years since I did Juz Amma from before that. Even though it's been like years, like what, 4th grade, this 10th, like 11th grade basically, so like what, 7 years, like 6 to 7 years. Please don't. Even though it was like that long, like I still like came back, subhanAllah, right? So that's like one thing, like the Quran, it's, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ, right? Like it's easy to memorize. We made the Quran easy to memorize and remember. So who will, try to like, remember, subhanAllah, right? And I think in the hadith also, it's like a camel. If I am not mistaken, subhanAllah, the hadith, like it's like a camel. Like if you have the Quran, it stays with you, but if you let it go, it will just like wander off. But like you can get it back, subhanAllah, right? So, oh shoot, my fault. I'm trolling, bro. I'm trolling. Habibi, I'm sorry. Was that a green light? Yeah, so focused. Oh my god. Anyways, but what was I saying? Yeah, so basically the Quran, like once you've memorized it before, you can easily get it back. Like it will always like. It will be a part of you. Even if you forget it, even if it's in years, you come back to it and it will embrace you, right? It's like the hadith, when you take one step towards Allah, when you go to Allah walking, then He will come to you running, right? So that's just like the same thing with the Quran almost. So like I was just reviewing sort of Juz Amma, got a lot of it basically. I already basically knew like most of, like a lot of it, like half of it I would say. Some of the bigger surahs I had to like review a little bit, or like I remember Surah Al-Mutaffifin, I had to like re-memorize that kind of. And so yeah, that's when I started. And I got like I got Juz Amma like pretty quickly in like a couple months, like 2 months or something. And probably by the first half of the year, I was probably at, I think it was, because I was near Surah Al-Mulk, near December. So almost at 2 juz in like the half of the year. But I would say in 1 year after I started memorizing, I think I was around Surah As-Saff in like that Qad Sami'a. So less than 3 juz I would say. I think it was less than 3 juz in a year. Right? So that in my first year I was like at less than 3 juz. And then maybe 6 months after that, so like a year after that, I'm sorry, I got to around 6 juz. I remember in that summer I got to Surah Al-Fussilat. So I think that's 6 juz. And then, so 6 juz in 2 years. And then in the half of a year, like in that half of the year, I was not memorizing much, right? I was inconsistent for a bit. But then also I was like going to like I started reading to my teacher, and I started focusing more on tajweed. Even though I could have memorized, honestly. And I think I was just doing review, like muraja review. Oh my, subhanallah, the amount of traffic is absolutely bonkers. I'm gonna squeeze my way in here. But subhanAllah, I was like reviewing and stuff like that. Oh, we're going in right here. Bismillah. Allahu Akbar. Anyway, so I was reviewing, like doing muraja, like making sure like I have my old review and stuff, but I wasn't memorizing anything new, and I was just focusing on tajweed. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, subhanAllah, you have months. Sometimes you just have months where you're just trolling and you just don't like increasing your memorization. Yeah, like maybe focus more on your review for like some times if you need it, if you've been going too fast or anything. But be balanced, right? Don't go extreme. So by around December 2024, January 2025-ish, I was at around 7 or 8 juz, something like that. I had from Nas to Zumar, and then I had the first 10 pages of Baqarah. I think that is... Oh, there's a police officer here. What's going on? Someone got pulled over or accident? I was at... so I had from Nas to Zumar, which is like 7 juz, a little bit more than 7 or something. And then the first 10 pages of Baqarah, and also had Sut al-Kahf, I guess. Like I had that for a while. Just 10 pages. So that's like a juz. That's like 8 juz, right? So I was at around 8 juz in January of 2025. And then in July of 2025, I got to 15 juz. So half of the Quran I finished. Like An-Na'am. I got from Baqarah to An-Na'am, like halfway to An-Na'am or something like that. I forgot when, where. But I remember it was 15 juz. And then in that last, not 6 months, but like from July to, I finished right before Ramadan of this year. So February, I think it was February 10th, I finished. That's when I finished all of the Quran. And so yeah, that was kind of my journey. I did go, in the beginning, like obviously I was doing, for my program, if you want to like ask about that, I was memorizing, or there's different phases of it, but near the end, I would say, like from 8 juz and beyond. Actually, this is an interesting story I'll tell you, which goes back to the consistency, subhanAllah, which is that I remember one time subhanAllah, one of my friends was calling me and he was talking to me. He was saying that, basically he wasn't doing so good, bro. He was kind of like down bad a little bit. And subhanAllah, I was talking to him for like a long time. That's like a 3-hour call or something, like crazy. And even just for the first hour, I was just getting information, like what happened, like what is like why did this happen, like I don't know, like how he feels. I was really just like not even like telling him advice or anything like that. I was just listening and asking for the first like hour, I remember. And then after that, I remember the key like advice that I was giving him was like, yo, like you're trying to do too much. You're trying to do too much when you can't even do a little. Like, for example, imagine you're trying to go to the gym and you can't bench 135 for reps, but you're trying to put 185 on the bar. Just because you used to be able to do 185. Okay, just because you used to do 185 and you stopped training for like 6 months, you lost your strength, bro. You can't do 185. Put your ego down and lower it down. Your new standard's 135. So I was telling him, like, bro, just lower your standards in terms of, what you're trying to do. It was just in general. It wasn't even towards Quran or anything. But then I remember I hung up the phone, and at this point I was doing, my program was around 2 pages a day memorization, something around like 10 pages new review, and something around like 10 to 15 pages old review. Right? New review is basically like I newly memorized a page. Okay, now I'm reviewing this daily. And then old review is, okay, I have 7 juz. I'll divide that into, I don't know, like 7 days or 10 days, however many days it was, I forgot. And I'll do that portion daily. So I'll do part 1, then part 2, then part 3, right? And so that's what old review was. I was doing that, but I was inconsistent. I was kind of inconsistent. I was probably doing it around like 3 times a week, or I don't know, something around half times. Like I would, or even on the days I would do it, I wouldn't finish it fully. Like, for example, maybe I would do the memorization and the new review, but I didn't do the old review. Or maybe I did the old review and the new review, but didn't do the memorization, or only did one, right? So I was being very inconsistent with that. And I could tell, like, my progress was stagnating because of it. So I hung up the phone, subhanAllah, and I was like, yo, like, you need to advise your own self. Like, subhanAllah, you're inconsistent yourself with Quran, right? And so that's what I did. I literally took the advice right after the call, my own advice that I gave. I lowered it all the way to 1 page a day memorizing, 5 pages a day of new review, and 5 pages a day of old review. right? And for somebody like who's just beginning and like you haven't even memorized Juz Amma or something like that might be a lot for you. For me, that's like so little. Like that is like, bro, that take me like less than an hour. That's like very little for me. SubhanAllah. But I was like, no, let me just keep it this, and I'll slowly increase it, slowly increase it. Like I'm like trying to increase my bench in the gym, go slowly up. And so I remember the first day, I literally like I did that. So I did my 1 page, my 5 pages, and 5 pages. And I remember I was like so like, what do you call it? Fulfilled almost. Like I was like so happy. Like yo, I just did all my Quran in the day, even though I lowered it. But like I did my Quran for the day in just like this amount of time, like just like the time, I think it's between like Asr and Maghrib or something like that. Like in like a little bit of time, like just like an hour. I was like, SubhanAllah. And I just ended up doing more because I just wanted to do more, right? I lowered the bar because like the biggest friction point with anything, bro, with training, with Quran, with doing the work, right? Whatever work you have to do with school or business, whatever it is always just the beginning, right? Even with like, for example, deep work stuff, you have to push through like the friction point. And then you get into flow state. Like for example, one thing that I like learned, memorizing Quran really made me learn what flow state is. SubhanAllah, the time flies. Like in the beginning, you're so tired, and especially me, I do after Fajr, right? SubhanAllah, after Fajr, like sometimes I'm so tired, bro. I'm like dozing, bro. Like usually I do my morning adhkar before the Quran. So I'm doing my morning adhkar, and it takes me like 30 minutes sometimes because I'm just dozing. And from reference, it should take me like less than 10 minutes. SubhanAllah. Just because I'm dozing and I'm like so tired, I'm like laying down and I'm forgetting like how many times I said the dua and stuff like that. SubhanAllah. Right? But sometimes on those days where I'm super tired, maybe I slept late the night before, and I woke up and I'm at the masjid. SubhanAllah, still like I'll get up and I'll still, even though I'm dozing and even when I'm memorizing or I'm doing my review, I'm started the Quran and I'm like super slow, I just like push through the friction point, and then SubhanAllah, at some point I just wake up and I just like get into flow state. SubhanAllah, that's like something you have to really learn. A lot of days is good days, it's like the routine flow. Oh, okay, just go to do the Quran and I'm in flow state immediately. Sometimes it's like it takes a little bit, right? So that's something you have to. Memorizing Quran is not easy. Like it is easy, but it's not. It's kind of like two truths. Like I could say, oh, it was really easy. All I just did was like do a little bit, be consistent. But then there's those days where it was really hard, right? So you just have to show up on the days especially where it's hard, but also when it's easy too. It's easy to show, but it's easy. So just being consistent with that. Very important. But yeah, SubhanAllah, I started going back to the story. I lowered it all the way to one page, 5 pages, and 5 pages. Of memorizing new review, old review. Slowly, eventually I got up in like a couple of months. I got back up to 2 pages a day. I actually went higher than before, right? So I went to 2 pages. Actually, a lot of times it's more than 2 pages, but like minimum 2 pages memorizing. It was like minimum 10 pages of new review, but like it would be like 10 to 15 pages of new review. It depend because of like the way I did it. But it would be like 10 to 15 pages of new review, and then like around 17-ish pages old review daily. Consistently for like weeks on end. SubhanAllah, right? Just because I lowered my standard, just because I lowered the bar, SubhanAllah. So that's the big takeaway. Like if you're inconsistent with Quran, it's likely because you either don't have a structure, by the way, which I'll get to like right now actually, or you just trying to do too much. Right, you get motivated by a video like this talking about memorizing Quran, and it'll only take me that long, and bro, like I can do it in less. Like, oh, if I do the math, I have 1 juz right now. If I do like 2 pages a day, it would only take me 1.5 years or whatever the math. Bro, don't do the math, bro, because you're not going to be optimal with your Quran. That's just not how. Same thing with fitness, right? Don't stop trying to do the math with the fitness and trying to be optimal and stuff like that. Don't chase optimal. Chase consistency. Remember, I mentioned the hadith in the beginning. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, the best of deeds are those that are consistent, even if they're small. I'll even reword it in like terms of like what I'm saying right now. The best of deeds are those that are consistent, even if it's not optimal, right? So SubhanAllah, try to be consistent with your Quran. Don't try to do the optimal program, like, oh, what's the best program, the 5 method or the 10 method or the this or that method, right, of memorizing. Forget about the methods, bro. The method, like, I don't know, I use like I remember at some point I used to repeat it 30 times, and that's how I memorized it. Near the end, I would literally just like read the ayah, then close my eyes and just say it without my head, like from my head, and then I'll just say combine the next ayah, and I'll just read the page like once without looking, without any mistakes, right? Like, so that's how I it doesn't, whatever works for you, basically, bro. Whatever works for you. There's no magical thingy. And even when you think about it, like the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum ajma'in, they didn't memorize the Quran by sitting down and, you know, reading from the Mus'haf and reciting and, you know, everything, which they memorized it by listening. I'm not saying sitting down with the Mus'haf is bad. I literally, like, just a couple hours ago was doing that, right? But the point is, one important thing that I used to do also, actually, I'll tell you a story to make it, so it can hit. I remember I was memorizing Surah Al-Tahrim, right? I was memorizing Surah Al-Tahrim. I was starting, I'm like, okay, today I'm going to memorize Surah Al-Tahrim. And so, wait, where's the exit? It's over there. I gotta find this exit number, bro. I'm gonna get lost. But I remember I was memorizing Surah Tahrim, and I'm like, okay, let's go. And I'm sitting down at the Mus'haf. I'm reading the first ayah, right? And I remember, like, you know, you want to repeat the ayah like multiple times, and then eventually you'll memorize it. And I remember I'm like reading the ayah, and I'm like stuttering, like I can't even read it like fluently for some reason. And I was like, what? How did I come to this page? How did I come to the Quran, right? I came to Surah Tahrim. I can't even read it properly. How am I supposed to memorize this, right? And so from that day on, I was like, bro, I need to be fluent, like familiar with the surah before I get to there. So what I started doing from then on is I would read 10 pages in advance from where I am every day. Right? I would be, oh, is that it? That's 1:15. Oh no, I missed it. Yeah, I'm trolling. I missed the exit. I'm just parked somewhere. I don't want to continue this. Anyways, though, I was like, Tahrim, right? And so from that point on, I used to read 10 pages in advance. I think it might have been even 20, to be honest. I forgot. But like, I think it was 10 pages. 10 pages in advance from the surah that I'm at. So if I'm at Surah Tahrim, I'd go 10 pages up in front, and I'd read from that surah. Right, probably around like Surah Al-Mumtahina, something like that. And I'd read that daily, right? And then what I would also do is I would listen, like for example, while I was in school, I would listen like on my AirPods. SubhanAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless whoever made AirPods, bro. I'm not gonna lie, like I would spam Quran, bro. That's like how I memorize like so much, but SubhanAllah, right? I listen in school like all the time, like when I'm driving, when I'm going to school, when I'm coming back from school, while I'm in school, while I'm whatever, I would just listen to Quran in the hallways, bro, with all the fitna and everything. Just Quran, and also the lectures, but like especially Quran. So I would listen to the surahs that I'm going to like memorize soon in that like, what did I call it? I don't even think I called anything new. I didn't think I called anything. Like just read 10 pages. I would read to I would listen to those 10 pages, like those surahs, like throughout the day, like a lot, every single day. And so by the time that I got to that surah, and I was like sitting down at the page and memorizing, I already basically memorized it. So I already like could tell you, like recite the first like couple of ayat, or like a lot of the ayat, or etc. Maybe like a word or two that I need to like look at and just review real quick. But like basically from then on, I was like chilling, bro. What is going on? I think I'd go straight actually and take a right. I was gonna use Google Maps. I do not know where I'm going, but I think I looked at the directions beforehand, and I like tried to memorize it, but I missed the exit. But I think it's there though. I think we're chilling, inshallah. Anyways, though, basically by the time I would get there, I would already be very familiar with the surah. I would basically have it memorized, right? And so that's what I kept on doing, and that's what made it better. Right? So not only just your memorization is not only just when you get to the Mus'haf and you're reading it, but rather it's what you do beforehand, right? When you're in the car driving, like now, I'll be listening to Quran, right? SubhanAllah. Habib. So yeah, like listen in the Quran, in the car, listen to Quran, spam Quran, get addicted to Quran. Like you can literally like remember the recitations, and like you have the same recitation that you listen to all the time, right? Sometimes, SubhanAllah, I'm in a like I'll remember like what the verse, like let's say I'm like I forget the verse or anything like that. Sometimes I'll literally just like in my head like play like the recitation like that I like listened to, and then I remember it, right? So listening is a cheat code, and when you think about it, listening is how many of the Sahaba, like Prophet ﷺ, he would get wahi from Jibreel, he would recite the Quran, And then the Sahaba would repeat. Like that's kind of like the asl almost. Like that's how like they did it, right? Obviously, there's a lot of benefit to like reading from the Mus'haf also, but like listen, very important to listen, to listen, to listen. And even like when you're reading to a teacher, um, that's kind of how you learn from a teacher. Like the teacher would recite it, and then you repeat it after him, right? Um, so yeah, there's that. I talked about consistency. I talked about the method. So if I was okay, so just going back now, is this? Wait. Is this the road? I think this is. I'm cooked, bro. I'm just gonna go over here. Anyways, so basically, if I was gonna go back, I actually did a lot of like in the beginning. How I started, I actually started pretty well. Like I would say, like I did pretty good. There's only like maybe a little couple of things I could have probably like, told myself did better and this and that. And also there's other aspects to this, right? Like for example, I'm talking about memorization right now, but I'm not talking about tajweed. How to get your tajweed good, better. How to get your qira'ah better, like your throat, like your voice better, right? Stuff I'm still learning. But there's a lot more to go because your Quran journey is not just memorization. And also like understanding Quran, learning Arabic. Oh, that's important when I forgot all that almost. Which is that you want to learning Arabic and understanding the Quran. First of all, you like have to. Like, how are you gonna memorize the Quran? And you don't know what it means. That's absolutely shameful. Literally shameful. So actually, I literally remember a story. This story is very interesting. I remember like when I first around the time. Actually, it was right before I started memorizing. It was Ramadan. I was doing a khatam of the Quran, like I think it was at 2022 still. I was doing a khatam of the Quran, so I'd have my phone, and I would read like a juz. I would read it while I was at school, like while I'm going to school and while I'm at school. School, bro, you don't do anything, like honestly, like you're just like scrolling the whole time, like you do some homework, okay? School's easy. And so in class, I remember like I would be reading on like the Quran app, so I would just be reading and reading if the teacher had nothing for us to do. And I remember the guy next to me, right? He's like some black football kid. And subhanAllah, he was asking me like, yo, what language is that? And I was like, it's Arabic. He's like, oh no, what is that? It's like, oh, I'm like, it's the Quran. He's like, oh, it's the Quran. Like, he said, can you understand it? And I said, at the time I didn't know any Arabic, right? And I was like, I think I might have said some of it or no, I forgot what I said. But like basically I was like, hey, like I don't even understand the Quran. That's crazy. SubhanAllah. Actually, it's funny because like literally a year later, that same guy. This is a side story. It's not about this, but that same kid, football kid, one of those guys, right? He came. It was a year later. He's in one of my other classes or something, and I remember like I came to the class and he's saying like Allahu Akbar, and I'm like, yeah, but what? I was confused, but I'm like, yeah, Allahu Akbar, right? And I'm saying that. Eventually, he comes to me because I guess he knows I'm Muslim. Because remember he remembers me reading Quran, and he knows my name is Muhammad, right? And so he came to me and he was talking to me like, yo, you know, I want to become Muslim when when I finish graduating and this and that, like Islam's the truth, bro, the Christianity, how you worship to, he was talking to me about all that type of stuff. And I was like, yeah. And he said he wanted to be Muslim like when he graduates, like when he turns 18 or something. And I was asking him like, why 18? Like why you wait? And we were talking and stuff like that. But yeah, subhanAllah, right? Basically, how are you gonna know? How are you gonna read the Quran and memorize it and you don't know what it means? Like, that's absolutely like shameful, subhanAllah, right? So learning Arabic, it makes it so much easier. It makes it a lot easier to memorize, right? If you understand what you're reciting, it makes it a lot easier, right? If you get to a verse and then is it ya'lamun at the end, ta'alamun? Is it ya'qil? I don't know, like, some of these endings, some of the, even just meaning, right? Like, subhanAllah, today I was reviewing Surah Al-Anfal, right? And there's, what's the ayah? It's, يا أيها النبي حرض المؤمنين على القتال إن يكن منكم 20 صابرون يغلبوا 200, right? It's the in Surah Al-Anfal, like, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the Prophet encourage and gather the believers for to fight, and if you guys are 20, if you have 20 people who are patient, then they will overcome 200, right? It's like 10. It's a 10x ratio, right? So I know if it's 20, it's gonna be 200. It's gonna be, if it's 20, it's gonna be 200. Then the next ayah, Allah lowered it. He made it easier. And then it's double, right? So if there's 100, then he'll take 200, and if it's 1,000, he'll take 2,000, right? So like just like knowing like little stuff like this, like if you forget for some reason, like you just remember the meaning, and it really helps a lot. SubhanAllah. But those are a lot of the main important things. So number one, like if you didn't get anything at all, this is kind of the summary. Number one, like 90-10 thing, consistency, please. I don't care if you do, a line a day. If you do a line a day, bro, I promise you, if you do a line a day, bro, if you do 5 minutes a day, like before you go to sleep, I promise you, like, wallah, you will see that snowball just like, and that's exactly what the story. When I lowered my standards, right? When I went down to like such little, I literally got back up in like a month or 2 months. Like it took me only like a month and a half or something like that to like get back to higher, right? So if you're inconsistent, that means you're trying to bench more than you can actually handle. Your ego lifting. So lower it and stay consistent with that. Also, one important thing I forgot to mention is to have a structure with it, right? Put it at a specific time. Don't say, okay, I'm gonna memorize a page a day. When are you gonna memorize it? Okay, I'm gonna memorize it after Fajr, right? Because there's no distraction. I can wake up early and pray Fajr, and after that, there's no, disrupting me, right? I can do it before school, or I can do it before work, or whatever it is, right? For me, I had a structure, right? So for a lot of the time, it was, actually, I do a lot of my Quran during school. Like I was actually savage. Probably. What I used to do is like I told you, I used to do the memorization, the new review, and the old review. I would try to do the new review and the old review while I was at school before I get home. So then when I'm like at home, I could do my memorization while working out. Like so, what I do is I would do like, I don't know, for example, I'm doing weighted pull-ups, and I'd rest like a lot between the two or three sets or whatever, how many sets I used to do. So I would rest like a lot between the sets, and between the sets I would just go and I would just like repeat the ayah like a couple, like multiple times. And I memorized a lot of Quran even just in that time frame, right? So subhanAllah, like to say that you don't have time to memorize Quran is a cop out, bro. Like if you don't have time, like you're trolling. First of all, like open your screen time, like buddy. Okay, number one, and then number two, like I memorized between sets of my workout, bro. Like you can memorize like driving, bro. Like just play the surah and then like try to repeat with that could be your level of memorizing. Maybe it's listening to a tafsir or a commentary, an English translation or whatever of the surah. Like it doesn't even have to just be memorization, but like if you don't have time, if you're claiming that you don't have time for Quran, like you're absolutely cooked, bro. SubhanAllah, you're cooked, bro. SubhanAllah, like you're literally choosing like chasing dunya and whatever over like akhir. Literally, like yes, obviously like your rizq is like fard and it's like you have to and everything, but like where's your time for the Quran, bro? Where's your time for, your ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We did not make jinn and ins at all except to worship and do ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if everything that you're doing is ibadah to Allah, then you must prioritize, right? In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, or I think it's hadith Qudsi actually, he said, hadith Qudsi, I'm pretty sure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, my slave doesn't get closer to me with anything except the fara'id, right? Except the fard, right? Things that are like the wajib, right? Some things that you have to do, right? And then after that, then he gets closer and closer and closer to me with the nawafil, right? With the sunnahs, with extra deeds, subhanAllah. And he keeps on doing that until he becomes from the awliya of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So you have to prioritize, right? Like your main ibadat, your salah, your Ramadan, dua, zakah, 5 pillars of Islam, 6 pillars of Iman, your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the Quran. The Quran is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking to you, right? The Quran is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking to you. And salah, like you're talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? You have to, salah and Quran, like they go hand in hand. I'm probably gonna make another video about that, subhanAllah. So salah and Quran are literally like, go like this. That's why you recite the majority of the salah. What are you doing? You're reciting Quran, subhanAllah, right? So that was everything I wish I knew in terms of memorizing, also just general advice of Quran, inshallah. And I'm gonna find my way to my destination with Google Maps. Assalamu alaikum.